So we're on Chaf Hey Amid Beis, just to get us in the mood. We have the din of Karfif. The Karfif, we said, it has to be, if it's more than 5,000 square amas, it has to be Hukif Ladira. And if it's not Hukif Ladira, then you can only carry 4 amas. It would have the din of a Carmelis. So we had an instance yesterday of a bustano, an orchard with a house, and the wall fell down. And we wanted to say the inner walls would help. We said no, the inner walls were made for the house; they weren't made for the bustana, for the orchard, and therefore they didn't help. I'm going to go through a Gemara. I'm just going to give you the Rashi Prakim, and then I'm going to fill it in for you. We're up to Chaf Hey Amid Beis Hahi Avankara. So this Avankara, Rashi has 2 pshatim. The main pshat he has is on Chaf Vav Amid Aleph. If you're writing in a Gemara, if you want to notice for yourself, you should make an asterisk over here and say, Ayin Rashi Chaf Vav Amid Aleph Dibur Hamaskal L'Hara Lamed Hey Reish Aleph Ayin. Because Rashi's ikar pshat for this whole Gemara is almost at the bottom of Chaf Vav Amid Aleph. In other words, you could, like I did in the past, I prepared this pshat, and then he would tell me that that's really not right. So the real pshat is in Chaf Vav towards the bottom. So you have this Avankara. Rashi's first pshat, it's a tree. According to the second pshat, it's some type of house that the Reish Galusa, that Reish Galusa had. He had it in the middle of his orchard. In the middle of his orchard, he had this house. So Amalei Rav Huna Bar Chinana, Li'ovid Mar Takanta, make a takana, Dilamacha Nechel Nama Hasam, that I'll be able to go ahead tomorrow, walk there, and eat there. So Azul Abid Kana Kana Pachas Mishalosh, he made a road going towards there with reeds on the less than 3 to create mechitzas, and Rava went in Shalfinu. Rava went and he took him out. Azul Rav Papa, Rav Huna, Breder of Yeshua, they went, the Hasidim, the Talmidim of Rava went, and Aktinu Basrei, and they picked up the reeds to ensure that Rav Huna or somebody else will not go put them back, will not replace them. Limachar, the next day, Esvei Ravina L'Rava. Now here's the format. Rava held that you do not need these reeds in order to carry. He held, since there was an Avankara in the middle there, it was made at Ladira. So therefore it was unnecessary any tikkun, because once you put the Avankara, the house, in this area that was more than 5,000, that created it as a residential area. And thus you didn't have to go ahead and do anything else. So whatever Rav Huna Bar Yeshua did, Rav uprooted as unnecessary. And now we're going to ask 3 questions on Rava why he blew it. In other words, and Yutaka did need the reeds. So that's the format. So the Talmidim, Rav Papa and Rav Huna, Breder of Yeshua, they went ahead and they picked up the reeds that Rav Huna Bar Chinana had put there. Rav Huna Bar Chinana was the one who put there. So now Lemachar, 3 questions. Eser Ravina L'Rava, Ir Chadasha, a city that is new, Moedinala Miyashivasa. You go ahead and measure the tchum from the houses in the city and not from the wall. The Yeshana, and an old city, Mechaimasa. You go ahead and measure from the walls. So in other words, the old city is going to have the tchum from a more outer exterior area. Ezehi Chadasha, the Ezehi Yeshana. What determines old or new? Chadasha means shehukfa. At first it was.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
I'm not. Oh my gosh. It was hukfa. Yeshana was mean. First it was hukif ulebesayf yashva, and then the walls were built, and then the houses were built. Chadash is hukif ulebesayf yashva. Yeshana is yashva ulebesayf hukfa. I read that wrong. One more time, guys. Eze chadasha, eze yeshana. Chadasha shehukfa. First it was surrounded. Ulebesayf yashva, and then it was populated. Yashna means what? Yashva, first it was populated, ulbesayf hukfa, and you built what? The walls afterwards. So you see that the walls don't create the din, it's the yeshiva that creates the din. Because the old city was first populated and then the walls. Conversely, if you put the walls around first and then live there, You go after where you live, not the walls. Because if you, it's not the walls that create it, it's the yeshiva that creates it. V'hainami, and this bustana kehukva ulv'soif yashvadami. Since the walls came before before the bunker was put there, so therefore you're going to go. It's considered hukif shaloi l'shem dira. So one question: we made a takana by making these reeds going through, and now you want to say you don't need them. Why don't we view this the same as the city? If the walls come first, we go after the walls, right? If the walls come first, but over here the walls didn't come. The walls came first, and the walls were shloi hukif l'dira, and the house came afterwards. So therefore, you don't go after go after the house. You go after the walls. The walls were shloi hukif l'dira. So that's one question. Why do you take down the reeds? You shouldn't have. You should have left the reeds up because despite putting the house there, the walls were shaloi l'shem dira, and therefore it remains a carmelist. You can't marry without having this walls that created that you took up. That's one question. A second question. Amar Rav Papa Rava, Vel Amar Rav Asi, mechitzos adrachlin, mechitzos of the shacks of workers, construction workers. Lo yishma mechitza. Alma why? Kivin d'litzliusa avidala, lo yavi mechitza. Hachanami kivin d'litzliusa avida, lo yavi mechitza. Those were just for the purpose of getting out of the sun, litzlius. They weren't made for the purpose of walls, formidable walls. So too, this avankar that you put in there is to go ahead and sit in there a little bit. That's not considered a wall to make it hukuf l'dira. So a second reason why you blew it, Rava. First reason, the walls came first. It's not hukuf l'dira. Second reason, the walls that you want to be hukuf l'dira don't do the job. Those walls are litznius. Those aren't walls that can create it as a residence. So it's a second reason it doesn't work. And now a third reason it doesn't work. Amar Rav Huna Brei Yeshua l'Rava, v'Amar Rav Huna mechitza ha'asui l'nachas, a mechitza that's made for storage, lo yishma mechitza. This avankara, they used to store stuff in it, their clothing, right? So another reason why it's not a good mechitza. The mechitza is for the purpose of tznius. Two, they're for the purpose of storage, and we're going to show that mechitzas that not for the purpose of storage don't work. So a third question, my Rava blew it. Where do you see mechitzas don't work? Let's see a picture, okay? Okay. I forgot to download it. I'm not going to do it. We don't need too many pictures today, so it's a pain. Yeah. It's a city. The walls are put up to protect those pits. Those pits have in them pits. They have date pits in it. And those date pits, the purpose of the date pits, I'm sure Steve is getting it on there. The purpose of those date pits is to have a place for the shvarim to eat. So these were considered for storage. You're storing the pits over there. The walls around the city were put for the purpose of protecting that area. Since it was put there for the protecting that area, it doesn't have a din of mechitza, as we're going to see right now. The Rabbi Baravu Maravla Lakula Mechuza, he had to go ahead and put up Eruvin in the Terna Mechuza, Arisasa by each neighborhood. Yishim Pira de Beiture, because of the pits for the oxen. I have a period of Beiture Kemechitza Suya Nachas Damya, right? So, and nonetheless, he put up Eruvin. So, what do you see? That Asla Nachas doesn't work. So, initially, Rav China Bar Yehuda did this. Initially, he did this. He went ahead and he put a row all along over here. Where is that?
What number?
Number 137. Guys, take a look. This is what he did. He went ahead, and from the house to the Avankara, he put a bunch of reeds on both sides to make a mechitza, correct? Came along Rava and told Rav Huna Bar Yeshua and Rav Papa to take it down. They took it down. Now the Gemara gave three reasons why they blew it. One, the Avankara is not hukuf l'dira because the walls came first before these reeds. Secondly, those walls were litznius. Third, the walls were storage. None of those work. So Yitaka did need all those things. Now the Reish Galusa wanted to eat in that Avankara, correct? So basically what these Talmidim did, by asking questions on Rava, they made it now that he couldn't possibly go ahead and eat there, correct? So it says the Gemara, Kori Alai Reish Galusa, Chachamim Hema Lahara, they are Chachamim Lahara, Ulehetiv Layadu. So they the ones who slugged them up, they were Lahara. And Rava Lehetiv Layadu, he didn't know the halacha. So he blew it. Guys, Gishmak? Gishmak, right? That's the way, the beautiful pshat in Gemara. Very, very nice. Boom, boom, boom. We said 5,000 square. Rabbi Eliezer said the amount of 30 core, of 30 saw, and there's going to be another question. We say 40 saw. Mastisn't like Chananya. Chananya Omer, Afilu hi abayim saw, Kiasatra shel melech. Even it's going to be 40 saw, like the palatial areas of the king. So it's 40 saw. So Rabbi Chananya learned. So Chananya learned to Rabbi Eliezer 40 saw, and Rabbi Eloi learned 30 saw. That's the question. They both darshan the same pasuk. Here's the background. Chizkiyahu HaMelech sees. We had this Gemara in Brachos. Chizkiyahu HaMelech sees B'Nevuah. He's going to have a child, and that child is not going to be any good. He's going to be a really, really bad guy. He goes ahead and he decides he's not going to get married, and it was decreed in Shemayim that he should die because he was mevatel the mitzvah. Yeshaya comes along and says, "Bahadi kifshu d'rachman alama." What are you getting involved in the secrets of Hashem? You're supposed to do what you're supposed to do, and Hashem will do what He wants to do. So, anyway, Yeshaya gets up and he leaves. Here's the pasuk what it says when he leaves. Shenemar, Vayihi Yoshio lo yetze elo ir. And now it says that he didn't get a chance to go out to the city. Now it's written as city, but it's pronounced as chatzar. It says the kri is chatzar. Yeah? He didn't get a chance to go to the outside chatzar. Ksiva ir. The pasuk is written in Malachim Beis Perachaf pasuk Dalet. It's written a ir. If you have a notice for the Gemara and you have the pasuk there, you'll see it inside. The karin and chatzar, and we call it chatzar. Why is that? Because the ear of its king is a chatzar for a king. An ear beinani. Mikan l'staracha shel melech, the palatial areas of a king. It's like a small city. The question is, what is considered a small city? A place where you can plant 30 saw, or a place where you can plant 40 saw. But my comifly, Masav Ayoris Beinanis Have base core. That's Rebbe Loi. Umasav Chananya says Memsa Hava. It's Memsa. So therefore, that's the whole machlokes. The crux of the machlokes is how do we define a small city, and that would define how much Rebbe Eliezer says, whether a place of 30 plant 30 saw or 40 saw like Hananya. But Yeshaya my boy Hassam, what's Yeshaya doing in the backyard? It says he went to the backyard. Amar Rabbi Rav Chanan Rav Yochanan Malamed Shecholach Chizkiyahu v'Holach Yeshaya v'Hoishiv Yeshiva Pischlei. He got sick. He got sick, and Yeshaya knew that it was guys around him death. So he went and he put a yeshiva by the opening of the house to protect him from the Malach HaMaves. Mikalat HaMelchachim Shechala Shemoshiv Yeshiva Al Pischlei. V'lav Milsahi Vilma'asi Leguri Bei Satan. You're going to start it with the Satan, right? The guy's sick. You're going to go put a yeshiva there. What are you telling the Satan? Like, oh yeah, I can't get you. So rather than to go ahead and check for the Satan, don't start up with the Satan. You don't do that. They did it over here. They did it over here, says the Marsha, because Yoshio knows there was decreed death on Chizkiyahu. He was a Navi. So how much worse could it be? If you don't know what's going to happen to the guy, to start off by putting yeshiva, you're setting yourself up. But over here, where he knew he was going to die, so what did he have to lose? So he went ahead, he put a yeshiva. So you can't be Mariah from what the Navi, who knew he was going to die. Gishmak B'Shat from our show, guys. One more time. You want to go ahead, don't start off with the Satan. Guy's sick. You're going to put a yeshiva there. You're announcing that what? You think he's going to die, right? How do you know? You don't know anything. Good? So don't do it. Vlad Milsahi. Yeshaya did it. Yeshaya was a Navi. Why did Yeshaya know? He knows that there were guys of death on Chizkiyahu. Correct? So therefore he said it can't get worse. So he set up a yeshiva. And in the end, this pasuk says that as Yeshaya was walking out the door, he was told by HaKadosh Baruch Hu his tefillos were answered. Chizkiyahu did tshuva. He got married. And Taka, he had a son, Menashe, who Taka set up at Slem in the Heichel. And the good part of this story is unbelievable. The Gemara in Chelik says that Menashe has no Chelik Mulhaba, and they they argue on that. It says he did tshuva by the end of his life. Why did he do tshuva by the end of his life? He remembered a pasuk that his father had taught him. So I took such a tremendous musa hassle from here. Can you imagine having a son? You're a Navi Hashem, and the Baruch Shalom tells you this son is going to be. You wouldn't put any. I don't know about you. I wouldn't put any effort into this child because any effort I put in is to waste. It's gone. It's not going to do any good. But you see, it's not true because Chizkiyahu taught him Torah because he remembered something his father taught him, and that ultimately saved him. Unbelievable. Never give up. Put your kaiches in. You never know what's going to happen. You never ever know. It's good for Rabbi Rosenzweig. It's a tremendous work.
From Ben Tzara Mori, we see that the Torah didn't give up. That said, there was never Ben Tzara Mori. The last week Pasha. Look,
you do give up the Ben Tzara Mori. You kill him.
No, but there was never Ben Tzara Mori. It shows that the Torah is showing to learn about it.
There's never been so Mora because the qualifications to get one were quite difficult.
Because we never give up on the child. We never give up on the child.
Okay. Anyway, never give up. Anyway, okay. Now, the next piece of Gemara has nothing whatsoever to do with mechitzas. For all intents and purposes, we finished mechitzas. The first two parakim of Masechta Eruvin deals with mavoi, koira, mechitzos, linyan Eruvin, what's considered Suras HaPesach. Now we're going to begin, as an introduction, we're going to begin Erev Chatzeros. So really the sugya begins in the next parak, which we're going to start tomorrow night, Bez Hashem. But for all intents and purposes, I'll give you the Hakdama now. And then we state it tomorrow night. The Chachamim, they made a gezerah. Haitzah is such a severe issa that we worry, and so easy to be over. The Chachamim put tremendous gedorim around it. As we saw, the whole din of Muktzah on Daf Kuf Chav Gimel, Kuf Chav Zayin, Kuf Chav Gimel in Masechta Shabbos by Nehemiah ben Chanchaloi was because of Muktzah. He found people carrying. So he instituted Muktzah. If you can't touch it, you can't move it, you can't carry it. We saw it's a Malacha Gerua. We saw that as every other Malacha in Shabbos, there's a change in the object. By Haitzah, there's no change in the object. It's very easy to be over it. So therefore, they made really strong restrictions. So in the classic case of the Pirish Chai, the classic case of Masechta is the old houses. This is how houses used to look. You had houses going to a chutzah, going to a mavui, and that mavui would go into Rishus Harabim. So obviously, we're worried going from Rishus Hayachim to Rishus Harabim. So we didn't let you go to one Rishus to another Rishus. We didn't let you go from the house into the chutzah. You couldn't go to the chutzah in front of your house because it was what? It was more than one person there. Each person had ownership, and therefore you're going into a Rishus that's not yours. Therefore, to avoid that, we want to ensure that you wouldn't go into Rishus Harabim. They didn't let you go from Rishus in your house. What was the Eitzah? You take food, mazon shtei sudos, you put it in one house, and it's now like we're all living in that house. We're all living in that house, and we're all living in the chutzner. So again, if we're all living in the house, all living in the chutzner, they're making a gesera on one person in his own rishus. Chutzner and house are now the same rishus. It's all one. Great. That's that way Eruv Chatzeros works. We're Ma'arev Chatzeros. So let's say we have a cul-de-sac. We have Kanai Nahara, 18 people online in front of me. We're all living together. 17 of you go ahead and put food in my house, and Chaim Klagsman forget to do it. It's Erev Shabbos. We don't have time. We're stuck. Chaim's bailus. He's going to stop us all. So we go to Chaim. Chaim, can you be Mevatli Rishus? Chaim says, absolutely, no problem. Chaim's Mevatli is Rishus. Now, there's two Rishuyas to be Mevatli here, guys. There's the house to be Mevatli, and there's the Chutzah to be Mevatli. So really what we need, is the Chutzah. Really what we need is the Chutzah to be Mevatli. That's what we need. As soon as he does that, that allows us to go ahead and carry from our houses into the Chutzah. What about us going into his house? Can we go back and forth to Chaim's house? Now, Chaim can't go back and forth to his house, because if he would show bailus. He can't carry out of his house back and forth, because then it would show bailus, and it would remove his bittul. But us, what about us? Said Rabbi Eliezer in the Mishnah, we can go back and forth to Chaim's house. We're going to see people who argue on that. That's the sugya. Says the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Loi, says Rabbi Loi, Chavav Amid Aleph. Yes, Yehuda.
But what isn't the chutzah driven by his house? So
No,
if he has
two different Mishuyas.
So you could own a chutzah but not own a house?
You can own it, but not mevatel rishus. You have, the question is, when a person is mevatel his chutzah, is he mevatel his rishus? There's two distinct. When he said bittel over here, you'll see the sugya. Hang in there.
Okay.
Okay. So now we get the sugya of Erech Hatzeres. So the shaila is, if a person is mevatel his rishus, is the oilam allowed to go into his house or not? Is the oilam allowed to go into his house or not? Now, his house is asa, right? Vatnan beisay asa, meaning beisay is asa to him, but mutta to them. And it says the Mishnah is going to say later on in Hadar, beisay asa lahoitzi ulahachnis loy, not only to the person who is mevatel, but ulahen, and also to them, meaning also to the people. So you have machlokas between Rabbi Eliezer and the Mishnah. Rabbi Eliezer says the other people in the chutzner can use his house, and the Mishnah in Hadar says you cannot use his house. Now the really easiest way to avoid this, guys, is was he mevatel his house or not? There's two rishuyas. There's two rishuyas. There's the house and there's the chutzner. Clearly, all we need him to be mevatel is what? Is the chutzner, correct? Once he's mevatel rights in the chutzner, we all own the chutzner, we're home free. The question is, when a person is mevatel his house, is he mevatel his chutzner? Is he mevatel his house or not? So Pashtus like Rebbe Eliezer, he is mevatel his house, and therefore they could use it. He can't use it because why? Because him going back and forth would show he's not mevatel it. He's showing that he still has bias over there. He's being mevatel his bittul. But the other people, if he's mevatel it, they could use his house and they go in and out. Or no, do we say when a person is mevatel, he's only mevatel his chutzner, not his house, and thus you cannot go ahead and use his house? That l'chora is the machlokas between the two. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Huna Rabbi Yeshua, Amar Rav Sheshes like Kasha Amid Beis. It's not shver whatsoever. Ha Rebbe Eliezer, the one that says in fact you could go ahead right and use his house is Rebbe Eliezer. Ha Rabbanon and the Rabbanon. Now why? Like Rebbe Eliezer, you mevatel with your the chutzner and the house. Like the Rabbanon, you only mevatel the chutzner. Kishetim Salayim the Rebbe Eliezer. Ha mevatel rishus chatzeroi. Rishus beisai bitol. If you only mevatel your chutzner, it also he has in mind his house. It must be l'Rabbanon hamevatel b'shus chatzeroi rishus beisai loy batel. He's not mevatel his house, and therefore you can't go in. Pshita l'chayra. What are you telling me? It seems obvious, right? It seems that would be the obvious difference. You can't go into a house that that person give you no trespassing, right? There's a sign no trespassing. You can't go in. So there, according to the Rabbanon, there's a sign on the house, no trespassing. According to Rabbi Eliezer, there is no sign. It says Pshita. So Amar Rachba or Amar Rava, Anav Rabbi Huna Bar Chinina, Tergimino, we both were metargim, Lo nitzrucha elo l'chamisha sheshvuyim b'chutzner echad, 5 people living in one chutzner, v'shakach echad mehem v'lei iruv, and one forgets not to put an eruv. The div Rabbi Eliezer, kishu mevatel rishusai, ein tzarich levatel chol echad v'echad. U'Rabbanon kishu mevatel rishusai, tzarich levatel chol echad v'echad. We got 18 guys over here, right? We have 18 guys on board over here. I messed up, right? And the Eruvs and is in Chaim's house, and you all part of the Eruv. I'm not part of the Eruv. When I'm mevatel, you come to me and say, "Laser, can you be mevatel your rishus? We really want to carry on Shabbos." I said, "Of course, no problem. I'll be mevatel my rishus." Now, when I do that bittul, do I have to go to each and every one of you, or just one of you? Do you need a universal bittul or just one bittul? Guys, in other words, if you hold I'm mevatel my rishus in the chutzner, I'm also mevatel my house, I'm a benevolent guy. So if I'm a vatal to Chaim Klagsburn, so it includes Benji and Michael and Kenny and Avi and so on. I'm a benevolent guy. I'm being vatal everything. Conversely, if you hold that I'm a vatal my chutzner, I'm not mevatal my house, like the Rabbanon, Nimsa that when I was mevatal to Chaim, lav dafka, I'm mevatal the rest of you, and I have to go to each and every one of you. Because again, the question is my benevolency, my giving. So that's what the Gemara says. When you mevatel, how much, to what extent are you mevatel? And it will be contingent upon, if you hold you mevatel the chutzner, you mevatel the house, so I'm mevatel to Joel Rubinstein, I'm mevatel everybody else. Conversely, on the other hand, if you hold, I'm not such a generous, benevolent guy, and each step along the way, you have to go ahead and check. So I'm mevatel my chutzner, I'm lav dafka mevatel my house, right? You know, also I'm mevatel to Joel Rubinstein, lav dafka mevatel to Dr. Ben or Steve or so on and so forth. Good? We're good, guys? Okay,
Is this have to do with? Is this go back to like Ayin Yafa?
Yes, absolutely. Ayin Yafa. This goes back to when a person sells, when we see in Baba Basra, you sell your house, doesn't include the bar, the dus. Yeah, okay. Einachinami. Ayin Yafa. It's a benevolence. Okay. Says the Gemara. Kiman. Who do you? Kiman. Kereb Eliezer. So l'cholecha. Kiman Kereb Eliezer. Rav Kana Masli Hachi. Rav Tuma Masli Hachi. Kiman. Kiman Ozla de Tanya. Hey, Shishurim b'chatzar echad, v'shakach echad mehem v'le'iriv, k'shu mevatel b'shusay, ain't it tzarech levatel b'shus l'chol echad v'echad, you don't have to. Keman om Rav Huna Rav Yehuda, om Rav Sheshes, Keman Kerebi Eliezer. So in this lashon, Rav Sheshes says it openly. So good, very good. Any questions? We're good? Okay, so again, the machlokus is, can you use the house or not? Rabbi Eliezer says you could use the house. Why? Because when you mevatel b'shus, you mevatel the house as well. Says the Mishnah on Daf Samech Tes, in Hadar, you can't go in the house because when you mevatel l'chutz, that's all you mevatel. But now, I'm going to put a little by Rabbi Eliezer. Let's say Rabbi Eliezer says I'm not mevatel the house. I am mevatel the house. What's the din? So time with Rabbi Eliezer. The reason Rabbi Eliezer holds the house is batel. Mishum de kasava. I'm mevatel b'shus chatzeiroi, b'shus pesoi bittel. It's included in it. V'hai ama anoi loy mevatlinon. In other words, do we view it as automatic? When he does one, he does the other. So if he's explicitly stating, I don't want the other, it's not batel. Again, the Svar Rebbe Eliezer, when he says, I'm a batel l'chatzar, it schleps along the house. What happens if he doesn't schlep? He says, I don't want it. Then that's it. By Dilma, time at Rebbe Eliezer, Mishum, the base bias below chatzar, a person doesn't live in a house without a chutzner. This is what Yehuda was saying. A person doesn't live in a house without a chutzner. He can't say, he could say all he wants, but it's not going to help because one goes with the other. It's all one big policy, right? You can't separate things. So once you move out to the chutzner, the house is with it because you can't have a chutzner without a house. The other way around. Lav kol kamina. Afagav the omer darina. Lav klom kama. Ulabonon I omer vatlinon. My time with the Rabbanon. What's the reason Rabbanon say that if you're mevatel the chutzner, you're not mevatel the house? You should the kasavi and mevatel b'shus chutzera b'shus beis alei bitel. V'hay omer vatlinon. And this guy's saying mevatel. So if he says it openly, it should be mevatel his house. By Dilma time with the Rabbanon, mishum delay ovid and shid masalik nafshei legam in the bayis chutzner. No person can go ahead and leave without, that's it. I'm about my house, my chutz, and leaves. That doesn't happen. When I should be a guest among you. He didn't mean it. So therefore, why? It's not batel. Keeping the gully, die the gully. But the megala. So like Rabbi Eliezer is megala, like mevatlina, it's not batel. Like the chachamim, the mevatel, then it's batel. It's batel. Whatever they tell us, that's the din. There was a final din of the Mishnah about some type of grass that looked like a scorpion. We said it was like a bitter type of leaf that looked like a scorpion. And we heard from Rabbi Eliezer that you could be yitzamara with that leaf. V'chein shemati mimenu, said Rabbi Loy, I heard from him, sheyitzim be'arak ravlin, be'pesach. If you look at the lashon ba'arak ravlin, it's lashon akrav. We had a gear, so we switched around the kuf and the reish, right? My arak ravlin, amareish lekish at savsa charizah. Obviously, they knew what that was. And that would be something that would go ahead and be used for Mara, but again, they passed and it wasn't. All those three things. Okay, Yotze B'Doreinu, again, we have you finish, guys, for all intents and purposes, you finish Masechta Eruvin, when you're speaking about an Eruv, mechitzos, from bungalow colonies or houses, you have all the information you need. You just have to look up in Shulchan Aruch. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to go ahead and make, again, once you get that Tzuras Pesach, you're totally good. So Tzuras Pesach, you're totally good. That's all you need. Your driveway, let's go. Your driveway. Why do you need Tzuras Pesach? Because your parents in the driveway is open up to Rishus Harabim, right? Why did we say if you're Poritz Mamakam Asar, it's Asar. Poritz Mamakam Asar is Asar. Be aware that most driveways have an easement. The guy next door owns a piece. You're going to have to make an Eruv Chatzeres with the guy next door to you. Even if you put up the Tzuras Pesach, that only helps for the Mechitza. But vis-a-vis his Bailus in the Chatzer, you're going to have to put an Eruv Chatzeres with the guy. You say with Eruv Chatzeres, the guy he owns a piece of your land. And that's we're going to get into more in this parak. Koira, Mavui, Koira, Lechi, we have Machloikas, Lechi Amidela, Le Rava, Alsheka, Le Rabaya, Le Mechitza. Rashi held that this is one of the places in Shas that we pass on like a baya, that if it happens by itself, it's a good lechi. You don't have to put up the shem lechi. Koira 20 again. Most koiras and lechis are not so predominant because people use the Tzuras Pesach, which covers all areas, because it'll even cover a pietza of 10 as opposed to a lechi with koira that won't. Anyway, it's been a pleasure. I wish you all a great Shabbos. We'll see you Be'ez Hashem, Motzei Shabbos. I'm thinking maybe 9:45. I'm thinking 9:45. Okay, we'll try for 9:45. Okay.
9:45.
Send out an email 9:45 because it's Shabbos is over much earlier.
Rabbi, this thing with the chutzner in the house, that's the same thing like an apartment building in the